This is a brief tutorial of Excel. So I realize that some of you have probably not had Excel exposure yet. I'm thinking if you're kind of right out of high school, you probably have used Excel, but if you're a little older, you maybe have not. But I will tell you, Excel is used very, very much in businesses. So if you're thinking any type of business major and you're going to end up working inside of a company office, you're going to be expected to use Excel. So it's definitely a good program to get comfortable with. If you're an accounting major, you're most definitely going to use it, and you're going to use it at high levels. So the sooner you get comfortable with it, the better. But so say we're in our Excel project, and I go into the general journal, and I want to add an account or a transaction. So I say I'm just going to make one up. So say it's November 1st, and it's a utilities expense for $255, and we received the bill. So then it goes to accounts payable. So I already have it set up that these are in, you can look up here, they're in accounting. So that means they're going to put in the commas, the decimals, whatever you need. It's already set up that way. This I already have set up as a date. So you really don't have to change any of those things. I've already created it for you. But let's say, and I think you have enough lines, but let's say for some reason you don't. You add more lines than I'm estimating that you're going to do. And then here's my totals. So again, your debits should equal your credits. But if you look at this cell, I've already put in your formula. So the formula, the summing, is a very popular one, and it's here in the editing. It's this auto sum option, but I've already put it in there for you. But let's say you get to the end and you think, well, gosh, I need more lines. All you have to do, say you need 4 more lines. You highlight 4 cells, and how I'm doing that is I am, see how the little arrow is pointing? Then I am left clicking my mouse and then just rolling the mouse down to get to 4 cells. So there I have 4 lines highlighted. Then if I right click, I'm going to say insert. And then boom, I have 4 more lines. Now then my formula is going to adjust because I was up inside of the formula. If you go down to the very line right before it, then your formula won't adjust. You would have to adjust it manually. But if you do it in the middle there, it's going to automatically adjust the formula and add those lines. So that's probably the only thing you may possibly need to do in that tab. In your T accounts, what would be ideal is if you, and again, I added these columns. I'm not going to be real picky if you use the dates, but the dates might help you. So I'm going to just do some pretend dates in here. So on November 1st, and if you have that scenario and you think, okay, I can't see it, if you take your cursor up to the line in between those 2 columns, and then you double click, it'll pop it open and put it what it should be. Okay, so say we had $1,500 in cash coming in on November 1st. Then on November 2nd, I paid some bills, and again, take my cursor up here and then double click, and it'll pop it open. Oops, why did it go to that date though? Oh, it must be because it must think it's thinks it's a fraction. So then if I highlight that cell though, and I say it's not a fraction, if I go back over here, I can tell it that it is a short date. Oh, it is a, all right, let me go back over here. What does this one say? Okay, that's a custom. All right, so let's just see if I make it a custom, if I make it custom, or general, how about we just go general with it? General just works. All right, and then, but again, I'm not going to be real picky if you use the dates. The dates are just there for you if it makes you feel more comfortable to have them. So if you're struggling with that, don't worry too much about it. But say I pay a bill then for $1,200, and that's it. Granted, your cash account may have a lot more entries than that, but let's just keep it simple. Then what ideally you would want to do when you're doing a T account, it's going to be your debits minus your credits when you're in an asset. So I'm going to push equals, take this cell, and then push minus, and then come over and push that cell and hit enter. So I'm telling it, I'm saying, okay, the equals always tells it you're going to do something mathematical, and then I'm going to select the cell I want minus that cell. Let's say I have more transactions. So on November 5th, I get $2,500 in, and then on November 6th, I pay out $1,500. So now I have more transactions. Again, if I come down here and hit equals, I would say my debits plus, or my 2 debits minus my 2 credits. So then I'm just moving my cursor to each one of those cells, and I'm putting in the mathematical functions that I'm adding them together or subtracting them. So I would love to see you do that in your T accounts, because so then you're going to do that to each T account, and then you take this balance and you move it over into your trial balance. And then again, your trial balance should already be set up so just carrying that forward, it should already be in kind of the number sequence. And again, you should have enough cells, but if you don't, or rows, I'm sorry, you should have enough rows. If you don't, again, go in the middle. When you see that arrow, left click to select and go down, and then highlight however many rows you need, right click, and then insert, and it's going to pop them in. And then your adjusting entries, same as the journal entries. And again, I feel like I have enough cells or enough rows, and I've already got the formulas in there, so you should be good. Now, this is the one that you probably are going to want to play around with a little bit more, is in your financial statements. So I'm going to want you to go to the book to look to see, okay, what does a good financial statement, look like? How am I going to set it up? So then if you're starting with your sales revenue, I'm going to just make it real basic in this example. So let's say my sales revenue is $120,000. And then my cost of goods sold and that really doesn't need to be bolded. So, if I want to unbold, also I could change the size. So, I guess it depends, but you do kind of want them to look similar. So I'll keep going for right now, and then I'll show you how you can make them all similar, because it kind of flipped fonts on us. Let's say my cost of goods sold is $75,000. And then if I want to sum this, if I want to try to make it pretty, I can put in a line. Here's my different underlines that I could do. I can do a bottom border, I can do a top border, I can do a top and bottom border. So again, you can play around with those to put in your borders. If again, and it's kind of nice. Then I'm going to sum it and say, okay, that plus this gives me my 45,000. And since I entered my cost of goods sold as negative because I know it was being subtracted, I don't have to worry about saying subtracted. Okay, then say I come over here and I say, all right, now I have my operating expenses. And I have salaries and wages payable. Or not payable, expense. And I have rent expense, and I have utilities expense. So again, I'm making this one kind of simple. Let's say our salaries and wages are $12,000. Our rent expense is $8,000, and then our utilities expense is $7,000. So then I can sum those. Again, I can put in my little underline to show that I'm summing it. And then now in this case, since I have multiple and I'm not subtracting, I'm adding those. If I go up to this auto sum, that little icon there, And depending on how you're looking at Excel, you might see it right on your home page. Mine, for whatever reason, is kind of like hidden up in there. And then this, I could say, okay, these are my total operating expenses. So then my net income is going to be, and again, I'll push the equal sign, my gross profit minus my operating expense. And then now here I may want to go up and say, okay, I want that to be double underlined, because that's normally kind of how we do it when we get to our, so we've got a bottom double border. Now then, because it's all kind of different, different fonts and stuff, if you, and I admit that looks kind of weird, if you highlight it once you have it in there, make it not bold, and then make them all the same. So say, I mean, and I'm not picky on what you want that to be. Let's say we make it Arial and we make them all 12. You know what I mean? Then at least it looks consistent, and then you've got that set up. Again, and that was totally made up, and yours may have all different accounts and you may have some different groupings. So always look back to your textbook. This is just designed more to show you how to manipulate the Excel to get it to do what you want. And then again, same thing down there with your statement of retained earnings and your balance sheet. Then your post-closing entries are going to be your journal entry to close out all of your income and your expenses. And again, I should have enough lines in there, and that should be set up well. And then your closing trial balance is just all your balance sheet accounts, and are they debits or credits? And again, I feel like I should have lines there as well. The most you should have to do is, if for some reason you need more lines, you know, highlight them like that, and then left click and then say insert, and it'll pop them in. So that's, I think, the basics of what you need to know. I feel like the financial statements is the one that you're really going to want to kind of play around with and maybe use some of the formatting again, making sure all your fonts are the same, using these different underline features, and then using your sum. So play around with those, because again, the more comfortable you get, the better for you.